Coming up next, Book and It reads The Two Towers. Ooh. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bookin' It. I'm your humble and eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs, and joining me today we've got Matthew Killingsworth.
Howdy.
And Tanner Lewis.
Hello.
Well, folks, how you doing today?
Mighty fine.
Talking to, the panelists.
I just realized that I've almost never... Wait, is this the first time I've been on an episode without Isaiah?
Maybe?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Quite possibly.
I think this might be a first.
Tanner said I just realized 3 times.
I know, Matthew kept saying stuff as I was trying to formulate my thoughts.
Yeah, Matthew, gosh. Yeah. Well, guys, I learned a very valuable lesson today.
What's that?
I learned that you don't light the grill when the propane is turned up really high. So, I was like, you know what I want for lunch? I want a nice piece of meat. So I went and I warmed up the grill. I turned on the propane, and I was like, idiot, you forgot the lighter. So I closed the grill, went out to the lighter. I come back, I light it. The grill explodes like a fireball, like when it lights.
Oh my gosh.
It catches my arm. I'm like patting myself. I'm like, I'm okay. And then I'm like, what is that smell? Why am I covered in dust? My hair was literally singed off, and it smells like burnt popcorn.
Are you joking right now?
I am not joking at all.
Why are you just not telling us this? Can I see your hair?
It's not like burnt. It's just really thin. Here, let me see if I can show you guys.
Cooper.
I said I learned a very valuable lesson today. You probably can't see it. But...
No, your camera's
you can't
flipped.
see it. Yeah, you can't see every camera.
Oh,
but anyway,
my goodness, dude.
Yeah, I learned a very valuable lesson that you don't turn the propane up
Is
really
the
high.
grill ruined?
No. It just,
that's good. Okay.
When it lit, it just all came up and caught my arm.
Okay. Yeah.
So I got really lucky. But yeah, I learned a lesson today.
This is totally a Cooper thing to be saying right now.
Yeah, that's right. I learned a very valuable lesson. Okay.
Hey, well, you want to know something about me this week that's not really about me?
Oh, really?
Officially, this week, I now have a friend who works at Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
And actually, everyone listening to this knows someone who works
That's
at Chick-fil-A.
right.
They just don't know
That's
it.
True.
Because
That's
it's the man right here, Cooper Cobbs,
That's
who
right.
is earlifying, that is a word I just made up, earlifying our recording session today because he's about to go work.
That's right. I got hired, and yesterday was my orientation. And they kind of pump the employees up because they're like, we didn't hire you. We don't hire just anybody. So consider yourself special. You're like, oh yeah, I feel kind of working at Chick-fil-A,
Cooper was like, I'm a Christian homeschooler who wears glasses. They're like, you're hired.
Exactly. And literally, the person said, we love you homeschoolers. Thanks for joining up or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Something to that nature.
Why does this totally sound like a Tim Hawkins thing right here?
I don't know, man. Because it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
The funniest things are true.
All right, so before we get into The Two Towers, Book 1, I want to hear Tanner's thoughts on Book 2 of Fellowship of the Ring. So Tanner, from the Council of Elrond all the way to the breaking of the Fellowship. Just give us your overarching thoughts in 1 minute or so.
I don't really have a whole lot. I'm trying to phase out of a lot of other thoughts that are raging out of my head right now. So I really don't have a whole lot of thoughts on that. I mean, it was a good part of the book series, but really it's just kind of dragging, if you will.
Oh, really?
Right?
Agreed. I think the whole thing is dragging.
Matthew has no opinion on this.
Well, except he was on a whole episode that we did on it. But yeah, I would say besides that, he has no opinion. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into The Two Towers, Book 1. So, opening thoughts. What'd you think?
It's not much better or worse than the first one.
That's probably a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's about the same. It's trying to, because we were talking about this right before we turned on the mics. Cooper was telling me this. Tolkien just wrote all one book, so I guess in his mind this wasn't like split up into different books. So it's kind of just the same thing. Which kind of disappoints me because then I know it's like all the books are just gonna all be the same.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, but for me, there's kind of a dead turnoff when they get into Mordor. I mean, like fully into Mordor for Frodo and Sam. I feel like that's kind of the turning point of the books, and that's kind of where the third book and all of everything kinds to turn towards a different perspective, which I kind of like because all the other ones, I will agree with Matthew, they drag, but they don't. There are parts that drag extreme. Like 4 pages of walking through a forest. Sorry, Tolkien, I will never stand behind that. Yeah, there's some stuff like that, but I feel like that's kind of where it speeds up the most, and that's kind of my favorite part of the entire book series, and everything else for me leading up to that was just setting foundation for the best part of the books, which is book 3.
I did like at the beginning of this book, Gandalf coming back.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Seeing Bilbo again. I think I said this in the last episode because I kind of forgot if it was like at the end of the other book or at the beginning of this one. But yeah, I like that part because it's like some familiar characters. I know how to pronounce their names. It's not like a bunch of random letters in an order all mixed together in my mind, like all those names that I can't remember.
Matt, Bilbo
Cooper
was in
somehow
Fellowship.
remembers.
Bilbo wasn't in Two Towers.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're talking about what was the best part of the series. That's what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, kind of going off what Matthew said, it's interesting. You're right. You think that Tolkien wrote all of these at once. They should all be pretty similar. But I think there's a kind of difference in the tone of the Two Towers and the tone of the Fellowship. Especially Book 1 of Fellowship compared to the rest. I think that Book 1 of the Fellowship seems kind of what the movies are for the Shire. Just kind of peaceful and quiet and joyful, and then as you kind of go on, it gets darker, there's tense, black riders are chasing us, and then at the end of Fellowship, you have Moria, you have a little bit of Lorien in there, so it's not too dark, but then you have the breaking of the Fellowship and everything like that. But then you have Two Towers, which is really just kind of non-stop, especially in this book 1. It's a lot darker in tone. So it's really interesting.
He kind of changed how he was describing things from the Fellowship to the Two Towers. He kind of changed how he was describing things. They were kind of going, if I remember, a little bit more mental and perception than just like facts about what you're seeing and such.
Yeah, he doesn't really spend as much time describing this one.
The mood change I think that Cooper's talking about kind of comes from like Frodo's mood change, especially like I think it has to do with like after the breaking up of the Fellowship, the breaking the Fellowship, like because he's like kind of just like all his trust has been betrayed, kind of he feels like, and like
he knows what he has to do.
Yes, but he knows what he has to do, so he's just kind of in like I don't know, he's like in a deep pit, but he knows like that he just has to keep grinding and climb to the top. And I don't know, like he knows what he has to do, but he doesn't feel like anything's going for him, I guess. So that's maybe like why you see the mood change. And I think it's like that for a lot of books when they follow one main character. If that character, because like when he started out, he was like, this is a journey. I got this. I got all these people helping me. Like everything's going to work out kind of thing. Like that's why it was kind of like a happy mood. And everything was like, no matter what, I've always got my home if I need it. But then this one, it's like, I don't have a home anymore. All I've got is this journey and I have to do this. And it's like just so dead focused on that everything else just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, dark. He's resolved. Everybody kind of has a resolve moment. They're all kind of like, okay, listen, Frodo and Sam, they've gone to Mordor. They don't know if they're going to come back. They're kind of like resolved to do what needs to be done. Yeah. We have to do what we have to do to help them out.
It's kind of a dark vibe for little while. And that's definitely in most stories, I would say.
Yeah,
it's that resolve moment when it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. And you know what you want to happen, but you really don't know, so you just got to keep reading.
It's really what's different from The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. The Hobbit, no matter like how dark it gets, it still has this upbeat
there's always
tone.
home. There's always
right?
home.
Exactly. There's always the cheer, the food, the home. Everything in it is always upbeat, and the prose is really light. But then Lord of the Rings, it's definitely it's more, the prose is more dense, but it adds to the fact that it's darker in tone and more drastic in the consequences that will happen
and
as well.
Even when the Fellowship, or I guess they don't call it that, but they call it like the company. It's called, I think, in the Hobbit. Right. When Thorin's company kind of breaks up there at the end, and like they, like the dwarfs all stay in the castle under the mountain, but like some of them don't agree with Thorin, so there's like conflict there, and then Bilbo just completely disagrees so much to the point where he takes the Arkenstone to the opposite side because he's on good terms with Gandalf and the elves anyways, and it's like in either way, like any way you look at it, Bilbo's kind of set because he's on good terms with everybody. Like here, it's like Frodo loses all his friends, and then it's just him facing evil, and well, except Sam, I guess.
You're right. Obviously. I think that the reason that the tone kind of changes in this book is because really the plot demands it.
Yeah.
You know, the Lord of the Rings was always going to be a more epic fantasy, going to be much more drastic in the evil that they faced and in the consequences as a result of that evil. And so, like we said, when Frodo decides to go into Mordor and everybody else is breaking up, it really just demands a dark tone and a heavy tone.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Would you agree with the way that they split up the 3 books then?
Oh, absolutely. I think where they did it,
yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that. Because I think if Fellowship ends right where it needs to, and then Two Towers ends right where it needs to. Two Towers has a great ending, at least in Book 4.
Okay.
Anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the book specifically. So, kind of right after we have Boromir's death scene, we have the orcs capturing Merry and Pippin, but I would kind of want to skip ahead to the Ents. So I remember reading The Two Towers like for the first time, and the first couple times after that, and
How many times have you read it?
This is probably my 4th, this is probably my 4th. And just kind of thinking to myself, why are the Ents in this book? Because they always seem kind of random to me. But this time, I actually really enjoyed this part. I really felt, I felt the reason that why Tolkien put him in here, and it's really just to expand his world. I mean, when you really think about it, he adds a lot of stuff that maybe isn't necessary to the story, but kind of like we talked about, what he's really interested in is just building out his world. And the Ents are an extremely interesting part of that. Even the Ent wives, which is really weird, it kind of adds to that as well. So I want to get your thoughts on the Ents, and get your thoughts on why do you think Tolkien put him in here, or why do you think he did that?
Yeah, I agree, just expanding the world.
Okay, yes, I agree with the expanding the world, and there is a lot of things about the Ents in his other books. He kind of enjoyed putting them into his other books as like these wise people that are basically the Gandalf of some of these other stories that he had written before he had wrote The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And he kind of wanted to add this figure that he's added in other stories into his books to kind of show people that had read his other books, hey, I'm not going off of everything that I've already done. I'm trying to incorporate everything back into the story. And I thought that was really cool because everything he's done up until The Lord of the Rings has been separated by all these epic, whatever he calls them, ages, I think is what he calls them. All these ages and all of this stuff. And these Ents have been through, I believe, since the second age.
Right.
So they've been there for a little while, and it's kind of interesting to me to see, like, Treebeard's... Treebard. I don't know.
Treebeard, yeah.
What do you want to call it?
It's Treebeard. It's not Treebard. Where did you get that?
I don't even know what either of them means.
Yeah, but anyway, I agree. I think it just adds to that feeling of just kind of the mysticism that Tolkien really liked, kind of the fable-ish or the mythness of it, just continuing to add to that, and it just makes the world so much bigger and so much wider and so much more thought out.
And like you were saying, like, Tanner just explained the whole history of them, and that means Tolkien must have thought it out before he added them.
No. So Tolkien never added anything, even Tom Bombadil, into this book without having thought out the entire ancestry of that species or of that person.
That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. This dude was
Everything has a backstory, and every backstory has been published. I will tell you that from experience of reading them. Every backstory has been
Tanner
published.
is all-knowing.
That's right.
No, Tanner is not all-knowing. Tanner is resourceful.
Yeah. And then we kind of get Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn. Legolas and Araglas and
Araglas. Don't know who
Giglas.
that is.
Yeah, I know. Gigglagorn. Anyway, those three people.
Gigglagorn.
Yes, Gigglagorn. Walking through the forest, and then they meet Gandalf the White. So, Matthew, you kind of mentioned this earlier. It was one of your favorite sections. Do you want to kind of explain why it was your favorite section?
Because, like, I actually, like, okay, he's not Dumbledore, but I kind of like Gandalf. And
I think he is Dumbledore, Matthew.
What?
Well, no, you're right. He's better than Dumbledore.
No. That's why I had to say that. But anyways, I just like Gandalf, and like I liked when he came back, and he's the White now, so that like makes him more powerful or something, right?
Well, I think so.
Or is it just because the
took
other white guy like turned bad, so then he took his place? Is that kind of how it is?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he took Saruman's place as the head of the council. So
yeah.
I guess so.
Anyways, but I don't know. It was cool. It was like this man. How old is he at this point? And he keeps coming back, and like
2
every
ages
time
old.
every time he comes back from a journey, I'm like, he's totally about to die. And because every time he's like talking to people, he's like, I'm just getting weaker and weaker. I'm like, how are you getting weaker? You're literally just
yeah.
he
it
just
kind of talks
travels
about
all over
that
the place.
at the end. How Gandalf, his spirit was weakened at the end of the Two Towers, something like that.
But he keeps like he always talks about after he comes back from a journey and like talks to Frodo or something. He's like, this journey has weakened me. I'm like, really? So you're gonna die soon, finally?
Yeah, but I think
then he never does. And then this one is like, when he came back as Gandalf the White, it was like he's kind of refreshed and it was like, you know, he's not gonna die for a while if he just got upgraded to White.
You know, I think that one of the reasons that I like the character of Gandalf so much is because Tolkien's not afraid to show him as a mortal, I guess. He's kind of like an angel in the Middle-earth roles, but whatever. But like there are parts, I remember a specific part in The Hobbit. It's when they're in the trees, and the trees are catching fire. Like it literally says Gandalf was afraid, right? Gandalf he fears things, but he's also willing to work things out, and he's also really wise.
And he's courageous.
It's right. He's courageous.
He's not just like he's not never afraid. He's just not. He's just not afraid of his fear. No, that didn't make sense.
He knows he's the adult in the room.
Yeah, exactly. He's willing to face his fear. That's what I meant. That's courage.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, yeah, I liked when he came back. Although I have to say, Gandalf the White is not as catchy as Gandalf the Grey.
No, I do. I saw an article one time that said that Gandalf the White had a significant costume upgrade, and I was like, no, Gandalf the Grey is way better. I'm sorry. Yeah. Gandalf the Grey is pretty hot.
Wait,
what do you call it? The Grey Pilgrim,
like the movie costumes?
Like
I haven't seen the movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do have something to say about Gandalf and all of his wizard friends right now. One of the things that is always struck me as fascinating or interesting right now is that Tolkien never really had a backstory or a full backstory on Gandalf, or really in any form an explanation for the wizards, how they came to be. Nothing. Like
really?
Of all
he does. No, he does.
Where?
Yeah, so
if
essentially,
you can point that out to me,
the person who created Middle-earth sent down Saruman and Gandalf and the wizards to fight Sauron's, I guess, leader or what previous leader, Morgoth, and yeah, that's how it came to be.
Wait, so Saruman was a guy who was supposed to fight the bad guy, but instead he joined.
No, Saruman and Gandalf were the same type of being.
Yeah, kind of, except yeah. But wait, where do you get? What book was that from?
I don't read the books, Tanner, but I read that somewhere in like a Lord of the Rings site or something. You can look it up. Like Tanner, he has a backstory. Yeah, dude, there are like there's literally a site called.
Oh, there's so much information in all of his books that I miss some of the most important stuff that I'm looking for.
Yeah. But anyway, I think and also kind of going back to the book, we do get a kind of Gandalf retelling the story of his fight with the Balrog, which is pretty awesome, by the way. But we talked about this again in our Hobbit episodes, how Tolkien is a kind of a big fan of telling things after they have happened, after the fact has happened. And so my question is, do you think that it would have been better if we had got Gandalf fighting the Balrog actually happening, or Gandalf just telling it back to Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn like he did.
Actually happening.
If Tolkien was writing it, then after it happened. But if somebody else was writing it, the present would definitely be better. I mean, there's just some word choices and some stuff that Tolkien does that are not usually conventional in his writing style, which are kind of sometimes confusing to try and read when you're in an action-packed scene. Which is kind of why I respect the after the fact happened, and it feels kind of more natural for those words to be coming on after it's happened, coming from the mouth of somebody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
You're right. I think Tanner's kind of right. He's like, Tolkien's really good at doing this. It's lazy, but he's really good at doing it. So, because, I mean, Helm's Deep, I mean, it's fine. It's just not the best action set piece or action battle ever.
I thought we agreed that
in literature.
That Tolkien doesn't do a great job of like actual action.
Right, exactly. Which is
he's good at build-ups and like build-downs.
Yeah.
But there's like nothing in between.
Right, because the kind of the big battle of the Two Towers is Helm's Deep, and I mean it's a chapter long, but it's not. There's not a whole lot of time spending describing everything.
Can we be real? Harry Potter has better action battles than Lord of the Rings. So.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. The Lord of the Rings, for me, this is the book that I read when I need inspiration or I'm trying to perfect my writing style to become more descriptive, because that's one of my problems. I tend to be less descriptive because everything is playing so well in my head that I forget to write important stuff down, which is kind of why I like reading things that are extremely descriptive, like Tolkien's writing here, to help refresh my brain and get myself into a descriptive mindset so that I want to write down everything that I see instead of just the parts that I feel like are important. So that's part of my reason for loving The Lord of the Rings and all of his back books. It's because I'm trying to get myself into a point where I can think through everybody's background so that my plot can be as descriptive and thought out as possible, so that my book can be sort of better than the bland thing that I think it is right now.
Yeah. I'll
give
you
I
this,
blanked
Matthew.
out for half of that, not gonna lie.
I think that Lord of the Rings is good at some things, and I think that Harry Potter is good at some things.
But isn't that one of the things?
I don't know. I could be convinced either way.
Come on, in the 7th Harry Potter, okay, they spend like 10 chapters on the big epic battle, and it's epic, okay? Like, it's a worthy final battle.
Whatever, I'll give it to you, just because I know you won't shut up until I do. So we kind of wrapped up our thoughts on that. We ready to move on?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm just happy you agreed with me.
Oh, did I? So Rohan, huh? Wormtongue, Theoden. It all happened kind of fast.
Did you just make up those words right now?
No, Matthew, I'm talking about the book. It's the country. King Theoden.
I was joking. You can continue.
So eventually it gets to the point where you have so many characters that are just warrior characters that you can't really differentiate between them.
So why do they all have to have names, and how do you remember them?
Well, because I've read it a lot of times, and because they need to have names, but Tolkien doesn't really go into the trouble of developing them. You got Aragorn, who is essentially, he's known as Aragorn. He's the king, but he's just a kind of a pure action dude. I guess you could say.
Wasn't he mentioned in The Hobbit?
No, in the Hobbit movies, but not the Hobbit.
Yes, in the Hobbit movies. I knew I heard that. Like, I could just hear Thorin's voice in my head.
No, it was
Aragorn.
No. It was what was his name? Legolas'
Balin?
father.
Oh, what did he say?
He was like, go find in the wild. His name is Strider, but you have to find his true name for yourself.
I just knew I'd heard the name before.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the book, Matthew. Hopefully you've been reading these.
No, I have. I'm just saying I've heard it.
Yeah. Anyway, but then you have Éomer, Theoden's son, who's, again, got nothing to him except he's good at fighting, and he's a good guy. You know, he's a warrior. And then you have, what was the guy, Hama, who's like the guard keeper for, I'm sure you don't remember this, Matthew, but he's like the guard keeper for the King of Rohan, and he's just another good guy. And it goes on and on and on and on, and there was really no character development. So Tanner, I want your thoughts. Do you think that do you think that Tolkien, sorry, not to get the two mixed up, could have developed his characters more, or do you think that it's just not something he's capable of?
I think one of Tolkien's setbacks is that he was never really able to get to the true character of a person. He always had traits or like a way of speaking traits, about this person, because like you can tell that Gandalf has this like wise air about him, and he's this wise person.
Gandalf is
and
wise.
Then you have
and Gandalf is one of the more developed characters as far as characters go.
Definitely, because I can remember his name.
And then you've got Strider.
Yeah,
I'm just going to refer to him as that because I hate having to say Aragorn, something like that. I always feel like I'm mispronouncing it.
Those were very different.
I know. That's why I said I didn't want to do that. I'm referring to him as Strider. But I feel like Strider has kind of this like mystical, I'm holding things back from everybody type thing, and he's good at giving you an essence of that person, but he's not really good at giving you the true character of that person. And I think that's kind of where he got mixed up. He wasn't really focusing on the character of the person. He was focusing more on what their traits were when they were talking and what their actions were. There was nothing really mental about any of their decisions. And I mean, the only mental things about their decisions was Frodo, who's the main character. So I mean, that's like and Sam, but even then Sam's kind of a stretch. But those two characters are like the only things that actually have like mental or like true character traits that you see. Right. And I guess he could have easily done something else, but I think he was too busy focusing on how to tie everything else in. I mean, I'm looking at the map right now of Middle-earth, and I'm also comparing it to some other maps, and I'm just thinking about how like well placed he had done this entire world, so that everything fits into this perfect little box that he gets to do whatever he wants to with. He's the master of like guiding his story wherever he wants it.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why I like the Ents so much, was because it was something that was kind of new and something that was fresh compared to the rest of the book, and the kind of way they talked, like the hum, don't get too hasty or something like that. I just a splash of new compared to kind of the bland characters.
Yes.
But I will say, Legolas and Gimli's little game that they played at Helm's Deep was pretty good. I enjoyed that. That was a good character development. All right, briefly, let's talk about Saruman. You guys got any thoughts on Saruman?
Okay,
I think that he's kind of a good counterpart to Gandalf.
Yeah, he reminds me of Count Dooku.
Well, that's because he's played by the same actor.
I knew it. His voice is just exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, no, like even just the character just reminds me of Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Just
it's
like
kind of
the,
like
the politeness, but like the bad guy.
Exactly.
That's just like, I'm so much cooler than you, but I'm gonna just like toy with you, and ends up not actually being like all that powerful. I don't know.
Right, and he's really persuasive. He's really kind.
Yes.
He's really, like you said, but then he's really kind of twisted inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so twisted that it's just like kind of creepy because he acts like he's not twisted.
Yeah.
But I forgot. I honestly don't really like the guy, even when he's like on the good side.
Yeah.
I never liked him. Gandalf's just cooler.
Yeah, you always kind of got the feeling of, hey, Saruman's he's almost like too full of himself, I guess.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
Even when he was on the good side and he was like the white, so he was the most powerful or whatever, he knew he was, and then he would be like, huh, huh, huh.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of kind of disregarded Gandalf authority.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he didn't consider Gandalf to be authority at all.
Danny, your thoughts on Saruman?
He never. I mean, even when I was reading this for the first time, he didn't really sit well with me. I've never really liked the character. He was never. in my personal opinion, I don't think that Tolkien ever really developed him as much as I would have liked. I feel like there could have definitely been, not even like in character traits, I think the character itself could have used some more development and some more focus and attention, because it kind of felt like all of his attention on that character was devoted to trying to make Gandalf look better, or to try and add more to his plot and to his story. So I think that there could have definitely been some more character development in
Really?
in Saruman that I would have liked to see.
I actually really liked the character of Saruman as portrayed by Tolkien, because I think he kind of portrays this guy who turned bad, and he's really just playing games. He's gonna get blown up either way, and you can kind of see that. The good guys are coming after him, and if they don't get him, then Sauron eventually will crush him. He's a pretender. He's trying to be, the baddest bad, but he knows he's not. So I think he's a really interesting character in that way. But hey, agree to disagree. All right.
Yeah, that's the Count Dooku vibe I was talking about.
Exactly. Right. All right. Any closing thoughts before we go to donor shoutouts?
Absolutely not.
Alrighty. Tanner?
No. I actually just accidentally stumbled across a list of all of the books that Tolkien's ever written, and it's a lot.
Nice. All right, Matthew, real fast.
Okay.
As far as the books of Lord of the Rings have gone so far, where does this rank?
Well, I haven't finished this one yet, but I think I like it better so far.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I think my favorite part of the whole series still is that part with when they're talking about what's his face, Gollum.
Yeah.
When his name used to start with an S or something.
Smeagol. Yeah.
That's still my favorite part.
Yeah.
Even though it was a long time ago, but.
All right, let's do some donor shout-outs. But Tanner, what would someone do if they wanted a donor shout-out?
They would go to patreon.com/bookinit and donate to one of our $5 and to one of our tiers that are $5 and up.
That's right, and for your ease, we have placed a link in the description below. So there's no reason not to do it, obviously. All right, so since we're a little low on... Oh, wait. All right, so I'm going to say the character, and then Matthew,
should we...
Sorry, not the character, the person. And then you will say...
No, actually, you say the character, and then we say the person, because I can't remember characters.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. And then you're just going to go in okay. You
Yes.
have the list in front of you? All right, here we go.
No, yes.
All right, Gimli, Matthew.
Nana!
You're going to go in order?
What? No, it's fitting.
Oh, okay. Gimli is the dwarf with an axe. You know what? I'm sure my grandma will love that. All right. Next we have Tanner, Aragorn.
Let's go, Chris.
Nice. And then we have Matthew, Gollum.
Ooh, Gollum. Moses and Zara.
Yes, absolutely. My precious.
What?
Tanner, we have Treebeard, the Ent.
Who's someone else? I'm still trying to find the list.
Sebi.
Nice. Matthew, we have Frodo.
Yes. How about Isaiah's grandparents?
Yes. They give us the ring. They give us gold. They give us the goods. They give us money. That's right.
They are our
so
precious.
That's right.
All of the patrons are our precious.
If you donate, you're our precious. That's right. We have...
Another benefit.
Yes. Merry and Pippin.
Van Pappy and Wayla.
Nice. And Tanner, Legolas.
Matthew's next on the list.
Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam.
Aunt
Jenny and Uncle Sam are both Legolases and Master Bowmen and Bowwomen.
All right, we have two left, and that can be Sam. Sam.
Yes. Who?
Isaiah's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Redsky.
Oh, yes, correct.
All right, and then lastly, we have Anna, who you can be the Ent wives, the missing Ent wives that the Ents try to find. Yes.
By the way,
very
Anna
little.
is our very new donor.
That's right,
as
new
of
donor.
last week, and we are very grateful.
especially grateful.
Added
She's
to the
our
precious
precious.
list.
That's right. That's,
I thought of that, and then I
call-
said it in a less weird way, Cooper.
Yes, I'm glad. So we're gonna call the donor shoutout list the precious list.
Yes.
Now we're gonna do the precious shoutouts, and we have to do them in Gollum voices.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Yes. Okay. Write this down. All right. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it if you could go to the link in the description and donate for us. We really appreciate that. If you can't, that's totally fine. But make sure you give us a 5-star rating and a review. And also, go check out our movie podcast. We're reviewing Star Wars, and we'll know you like that. And also, real fast, tell your friends. We want to grow the podcast, and the best way to do that is for you to tell your friends. So we really appreciate that as well. And so, Matthew, I know you don't like my long outros, but until next time.
Keep on booking it, my precious.